Hi, this is Wally Hauk, and I want to talk to you about think, behave, and improve. How does an optimal leader think? How does an optimal leader behave? How does an optimal leader improve? And I want to talk about think and behave as it relates to two types of leadership approach. Level 5 leadership or Machiavellian leadership. Which leadership approach wins the employee engagement race? That's my question for today, and I want to share some thoughts with you. Now, a widely accepted assumption is that employee engagement is influenced by how the leaders of an organization behave. Another way to say this is the work environment is influenced by the leaders, and that work environment therefore influences employee engagement, productivity, and performance. Both level 5 leadership and Machiavellian leadership can create outstanding results, but how does each one stack up against the need for employee engagement? That's what I want to talk about. That's the purpose. I want to make the case, as I always do in these blogs, for higher employee engagement. It is one of the most important strategic objectives for organizations today, much more important than it used to be. And there are two big distinctions between level 5 leadership and Machiavellian leadership that I want to share with you, and they will provide key insights for action by you. First, we need some clear definitions. I prefer, first of all, the definition of employee engagement from the conference board. I'm going to paraphrase. Employee engagement is a strong emotional connection an employee feels with their organization and or team such that they're willing to give extra effort without being asked or bribed, right? Or without being asked, bribed, or threatened, especially threatened. Level 5 leadership, what is that? It's a term describing leaders who were uncovered by Jim Collins when he was doing research for his book, Good to Great, a very famous business book, leadership book from 2001. Collins says that level 5 leaders are both modest and willful. What does that mean? They're humble in their behaviors and respectful in their behaviors, yet fearless in their pursuit of results. They avoid letting their ego interfere with their ambition in order to achieve a great result for their organizations. And they tend to put the results for the organization ahead of not only their ego, but their own self-interest. Machiavellian leaders are also willful, yet here's their definition. They believe that people are self-interested creatures and that everyone puts their own self-interest ahead of other considerations. Well, guess what? This is a key characteristic of Machiavellian leaders. They put themselves ahead of others and results for an organization. Now, they do this in part because they believe that it's better to be feared than to be loved. So Machiavellian leaders hold efficacy and foresight as important characteristics, but humility takes a back seat. You don't need humility to achieve results. Humility is not needed to achieve power, and therefore it takes a back seat. Now, here are the two key insights that I find fascinating. The first one, trust versus fear. The second one, autonomy versus dependency. And this is right out of some of the writings of Machiavellian leaders and also out of level 5 leadership. So let's talk about trust, trumps fear. That's the phrase that I wanted to share with you. Trust trumps fear every time as it relates to employee engagement. It's much more effective than fear for achieving engagement. If we choose to accept that the engagement definition above, the presence of fear proves that there is little or no engagement, because engagement is an emotional connection that where people put in extra effort without threats. Threats create fear. So by definition, if there are threats, there is lack of engagement. So if employees are willing to put in extra effort, they must feel safe to do so, and safety suggests a lack of fear. Now, if Machiavellian leaders prefer fear to love from followers, it suggests engagement would be significantly reduced with a Machiavellian leader because there's fear and not love. Let's talk about autonomy versus dependency. And autonomy trumps dependency on engagement every single time. There are two laws that show this in the Machiavellian writings. And the first one is, learn to keep people dependent upon you. And here's the quote, to maintain your independence, you must always be needed and wanted. Never teach employees enough, or never teach them so much so that they can do without you. So Machiavellian leaders create this dependency, but to be fully engaged, people need autonomy. They need freedom. They need to be able to make decisions on their own, to innovate, in order to be fulfilled. The Machiavellian leader holds them back purposely to create this dependency. And so engagement is naturally reduced. Here's the second interesting law: cultivate an air of unpredictability. And here's the quote: humans are creatures of habit with an insatiable need to see familiarity in other people's actions. So be deliberately unpredictable is a Machiavellian law. Well, if you're unpredictable, it creates fear or uncertainty, and it can lead to a lack of trust. It can prevent people from taking risks because they don't know how you're going to react. Now, I've got two great examples, and I actually used to work for Al Dunlop right after he went to Scott Paper. He is of Scott Paper fame because what he did was he exemplified the Machiavellian leader, first of all, and he's profiled in Good to Great. Dunlop cut expenses at Scott Paper, mostly by cutting jobs and layoffs. Then he sold the company, pocketing millions for himself, all in less than 2 years. The changes he made were clearly not sustainable, and it probably explains why the company was sold to Kimberly-Clark not long after that. And besides, what did Dunlop do? He put collecting millions for himself ahead of the health of the organization. Now, in contrast, think about Arnold Palmer. One of the quotes on Arnold Palmer's website is, always make a total effort even when the odds are against you. This could easily be attributed to a level 5 leader, a fearless pursuit of results while demonstrating warmth and humility at the same time. He had thousands, if not millions, of followers called the Arnie's Army, and he touched thousands and thousands of lives, made his sport much more popular, positively changed the world in numerous ways, and the lives of numerous people. In summary, Machiavellian leadership is great for beating down your competitors, and beating competitors can lead to great success. Level 5 leadership is great for employee engagement, generating positive results, minimum unintended consequences, and enormous leverage of workload. So there's value in both leadership styles, but the place that they're valuable is very, very different. I would personally recommend you stay away from Machiavellian techniques if you want and find engagement to be important to you and your employees. Thanks for listening.